I say finish, ask where do I want to put this data. I'll say up there at the very top left. And when it wants to pull the data out, it actually does force you to log in again. And just like that, I've queried my sales history information out of the ABC company into this particular spreadsheet. Push the data from the export file we created into Excel. So I say finish, voila, we've actually pushed the data out into a file using Visual Integrator.
That task is done within the library master on the main menu within company maintenance. So if I go into company maintenance, these are all of the companies that are in my Sage instance. And the company that I'm working in today is the ABC company. You can see I've got a number of other companies here that are demo and testing companies. So to create a backup or an archive of that ABC company, the first thing we have to do is create a new company code and create that database, if you will, in the system. Company code is a 3-digit code. It can be alphanumeric, anything you want it to be. I'm going to just call my company code B21 because it's the backup of ABC for 2021 year end. So that's the company name. The company code is B21. So I've created that now. There it is, but it really doesn't have any data in it. So the first step is create the company code. Once I do, then I select that company code, and now I've got this copy button available to me. So what I do is I click on copy. It's going to give me this little warning message. The system gives you the capability of creating copies of just some of the modules. So you could do just like accounts receivable and accounts payable and skip the general ledger as an example. You really don't want to do that, but that's the reason it's giving you this message is you've got integrated modules. You might want to not do partial copy because of the integration between the modules. So it's just giving you a little warning message there. You can bypass that. And then what it's going to do is it's going to ask me for the source company. So this is very important, and if you do this, if you enter in the right way, it's fine. But the source company then is the company I'm copying from. The destination company is the company I'm copying to. So I'm copying from ABC, which is my production company. I'm copying into B21, which is my backup company, and that will kind of automatically happen for you if it went in company maintenance. You're in the company that you want to copy to. I've actually had a couple customers that have done this. You want to be careful doing it the wrong way, because if I were in ABC when I did the copy, and then I selected B21 as that would be the source company, then I'd actually be copying my test or backup company over top of my production company, right? So just be careful on that. You want to go into the company that you want to copy to, and then select as your source company the company you're going to copy from, and then it's going to automatically check all of the modules. So it's, by default it's saying, yeah, I want to do a copy of the data for all the modules in my system. Click on proceed. Do you want to copy all data files for the selected or to the selected company? I just answer yes. Now this will happen very quickly on my system because it's a demo system. I don't have a ton of data in the system, but really in real life, that process probably will take 5 to 10 minutes or less. And here again, it's dependent on the amount of history that you retain in your system, amount of transactional activity, but it's not a lengthy process. I've done some very large systems before that, 10 minutes max to do that.
So now let's talk about how we actually put this into work, how it actually gets to you in your environment. We have it divided into 3 different editions or versions, if you will. And we have it divided this way so you can choose which feature set makes the most sense for you. So our basic model is fundamentals. It does everything that you need to run the basic warehouse. If you've got a warehouse, these are all the things that you're going to be doing on pretty much a daily, if not weekly basis. Receive POs, ship things out, do physical inventories. The Sage transfers issues and receipts functions. Those are all built in for that one cost. Okay. Then if you have a larger environment, a more complex or unique environment, and we need to add some more features to make the system more workable for you, then we can move up to our advanced version where we add these features in. Things like auto post. You know, in Sage where everything flows into a batch and then someone has to go and do an administrative step of processing the batch? Well, auto post bypasses those batch processes within Sage. So for instance, if I'm doing a receipt on a handheld, okay, when I hit the button on my handheld to send the data back over to Sage, it's going to go into a batch and we're immediately going to backflush it. So that inventory is live in my inventory right away. So we have a lot of customers that take advantage of that because it gets them closer to real time, as close to real time as possible. Okay. We also allow for a different method of shipping. So it's called pick and pack or pick and ship. And what that means is you may have different classes of worker in the warehouse that have different roles. You may have some people that just concentrate on picking orders. So I'm going to go pick an order and I'm going to take it to what I'll call a packing station. And then I'm going to go and I'm going to pick the next order. And after I drop it at that packing station, somebody else takes over and they're the ones that puts it in a container, in a box, puts it on a pallet and shrink wraps it. They're the ones that actually prepare it for shipment. So we allow for this two-step sort of divided process for shipping orders out within our advanced system. We also have something called directed picking. Now, in our normal fundamental shipping, it tells you everything on the order and everything that you need to ship. But in advance with direct picking, the system actually looks at the orders and says, based on where these orders are stored in the warehouse, I'm going to build you the most efficient serpentine path to walk through the warehouse to collect all of these items. So in other words, if you have sort of an aisle A, aisle B, aisle C philosophy, with directed picking, it's going to direct you down aisle A to get everything that you need there. And then if there's nothing on aisle B, it'll say jump over to aisle C and get something you need there, and then jump all the way over to aisle H and get something there if there's nothing in between. So directed picking is the epitome of efficiency. It eliminates steps and it allows you to do more with less people. Okay. We also have this dashboards, or what we call our management console. The management console stores all the information that transfers from the handheld back to Sage. And so everything that you do. So when it comes time to say, you know, I've got an issue with the inventory quantity on this one item, I wonder why. In the management console, you can simply type in that item number, and we're going to show you a chronological listing of every transaction that impacted that particular item code. So you can literally step back through time. You can see when it was done, who done it, what they did, what order was it on, everything about it, and find those problems if they happen to creep into the system. So it's a great tool to use to sort of track down issues or do research. You can build reports in there, you can build views and save them and print off PDFs for management meetings and things of that nature. It's a really powerful tool. And also within batch management, we give you some abilities better than what Sage does to control batches, how things flow into batches. Do you want all transactions of a type to go into one batch? Do you want them to be separated by users? We just give you some extra tools and bells and whistles that Sage doesn't have. So you have those two sets. You have fundamentals and advanced as feature sets. Now, if you want to add multi-bin on top of what we have in advanced, that's when we move over to premium. Okay, so we add the multi-bin logic to the advanced feature set, and now you've got our premium package. And remember when I said before that we wrote Sage's multi-bin solution? It's called the DSD/ScanForce multi-bin. We wrote it in conjunction with DSD, like a lot of their other enhancement plugins. So we have two different versions there. There's a basic and there's an advanced. Now what we're going to do with premium is we're going to utilize the advanced version. That's that third bullet point you see down there. And we actually give it to you for free. I said before, you could purchase that from Matrix and add multi-bin advanced to your environment today in Sage, even if you didn't do any barcoding or scanning out in the warehouse. Okay, but if you purchase our premium package, we're going to give you our advanced version for free. It's included. And it does some really cool features like auto allocations. For instance, when I'm entering a sales order, I may want to reserve a particular subset of my inventory, maybe inventory that's in a certain location, or maybe if I'm using lot numbers or serial numbers in my environment, I want to go ahead and reserve specific lots or specific serial numbers. I can do that with here. I have a lot of stock replenishment reports. So if we have that pick location and overflow location, it'll tell me when I need to move things from the overflow and replenish those pick bins, okay? So those are some of the multi-bin advanced features. But if you say, you look at this list, you say, you know what, my needs are fairly basic. I don't need the feature set in advance. The fundamentals sits me fine, but I really want multi-bin. Do I have to jump all the way from fundamentals to premium to get it? The answer is no, because we have this multi-bin basic solution. It's actually a free download from Sage, and this is something that the Matrix folks can do for you. So we can bolt that multi-bin basic, the free version, onto fundamentals. So now for a very easy price to get into barcode scanning, you can have everything you need to run your warehouse and multi-bin included as well, without going to the expense of advanced or the premium packages. The bottom line is flexibility. We give you a lot of options and a lot of ways to slice and dice the system to make it work for you. And the best part is, if you start at fundamentals, 6 months later, if you say, you know what, that auto post stuff sounds cool. We're spending so much time processing batches. I want that. All you do is pay the difference between the two and you can upgrade. You never lose the value of something that you've purchased with ScanForce. You just pay the difference between the two and you have a very clear upgrade path.
So what is Sage Alerts in workflow? And you'll hear it as you're out in the marketplace, or when you see the product, it'll have the name Knowledge Sync on it, which is the corporate brand name with you. But we like to say it's business activity monitoring, which is a subsection of BI or BA, if you will, right? So we just take from the inside of the application and yell at you, hey, there's something going on. It's your visible assistant. It's a smoke detector for your business. So you decide as we go through this, how does it resonate with you as a product? Sage Alerts and Web for software that automates if-then business process within your organization. And today, a lot of you certainly are on Sage 100, but if you're working with Sage HRMS or Sage CRM or any of the products that wrap around the ecosystem of Sage from an ISV solution, so if you're using, for example, ScanCo or Inventory Advisor, we have event packs that wrapped around them as well. But it's this activity and conditions to do what to do with the information that we have, who deliver it to, and what timing does that have.
Of access, having that ability right inside your Sage 100. The next one is document tagging. So you can go back and search on documents. And for example, if you type a key phrase needs management approval, you could have a manager go in and search on that tag, or you could write a customer report on that tag so they can then go in and see, hey, what needs my approval, and then mark it as good and continue your process flows from there. The next kind of leads into that tagging is the master search. So once you've tagged a document, you can go ahead and search on that. Then the next thing I want to point out is there is auto tagging capabilities. So if you drag and drop a document into an invoice that's 1, 2, 3, 4, it will be auto tagged with 1, 2, 3, 4. So you'll be able to search on that, and so it will automatically happen. You won't have to worry about tagging your documents related to what you're adding it to. So that's a nice feature as well. The next one that's awesome that I will show in my demo for sure is the paperless office integration. So when you print forms in a PDF format and that sort of thing, you can just go ahead and drag it and drop it. You won't have to drag it and drop it because it will automatically happen with your paperless features, and I will certainly show that off in my demo. The next one is security. So we've built in security for your roles, so you can see who gets to access documents, open the documents, be able to tag the documents, that sort of thing. I will point out that I would say most people, if you're not a company that is super locked down, they either give them all security or don't even turn on the security features and just let them have all access to their InstaDocs. So it's really, that's going to be based on your company needs. If you're a company that's pretty locked down, then you can utilize those different security features. If not, you want everyone to have access to those documents, then you can leave it off. Finally, we do allow for cloud storage. Our cloud storage we're integrated with is Microsoft OneDrive. So if you have the ability to link to your OneDrive account, you can certainly do so with InstaDocs.
We're going to just dive straight into e-commerce trends and categorical trends in 2022. So what you're seeing here on the key focus areas, and I'm not going to read these slides to you guys, you can obviously do that on your own, but the key thing here is independent of CIMcloud, where should your business be focusing? So coming out of the post-COVID world, and obviously independent of anything pandemic related, things continue to move more digital by the day. So looking at the different areas that your business can improve or adjust or pivot moving forward, all kind of center around key focus areas that you should be looking at. So the first one is obviously allowing your customers to self-service, which think of that as giving users alternatives to calling your business, emailing your business, waiting on a sales rep to come call on your account. The customer self-service concept is basically molded around the Amazon experience of the world, where 24/7 access to your account information, ability to place orders, ability to see invoices or historical orders, and do all of that on your own as a customer. So again, kind of, I think everyone's used to having that 24/7 business access. And so having customer self-service alternatives, whether that's through a solution like CIMcloud with eCommerce, whether that is some sort of ticketing system for users to come in and allocate work. Again, all of that being around giving power to your customers to do business on their terms. Obviously, in that grain of allowing customers to self-service is utilizing integrated solutions. So within today's context, we're going to talk about how CIMcloud's e-commerce solution leverages integration with Sage 100 so that customers can effectively self-service. The next item here is remote work capabilities. So it's funny for me, having been in a business that was basically 100% in office, traditional business hours, and coming out of COVID, we've pivoted into a remote first concept. So a lot of businesses I work with have similar setups. So maybe you have your administrative staff has a remote first where you can choose to come into the office, or have designated days to come into the office, or again, just giving people the flexibility to work where they are, or even work while traveling. So remote work capabilities, or kind of that 24/7 access for your employees. And then the final thing here is consolidating vendors. So I think everybody, when you look at software categorically, you have a warehouse management system, and you have an e-commerce system, and you have a ticketing system, and you have all these different systems that are designed to give your business flexibility. And so consolidating those vendors as much as possible is something that businesses should be trying to do. Obviously some of those cannot be consolidated, but trying to eliminate having too many vendors that are not adding value to your business, or that are adding bottlenecks for the business overall. So key customer trends that I'm seeing, I'm gonna kind of focus on three things as it pertains specifically to e-commerce. So, and I'll hit some slides on each of these individually. But the key thing on the first item here is that business-to-business companies, when it comes to e-commerce, have different needs than think a direct-to-consumer or a Nike.com, Target.com, things that we're kind of utilizing in our day-to-day life. Also talking about when customers do come to me, are they looking to replace their entire web presence, or do they just want to add on to it? And then there's obviously trends where customers are saying, hey, we want to try new online sales channels and do that effectively for our business. So the first thing here is when customers come to me, you're seeing 57% here, but just the categorical kind of outlook here is that a lot of businesses have outdated legacy websites that are very much brochure driven. So, hey, we're a real company. We operate, here's our business hours, here's our address, here's a little bit of information about us. And it probably, was built in 2008 or 2010. It's outdated, but it does allow your business to be found and people to contact you. So, again, these legacy sites have a place within your business. They have value for your business. But a lot of times when customers come to me, they're like, hey, I want to use the website as a demand generation tool. And we don't have an ability to display products on our outdated legacy website. Or, hey, we want to use the website for different account requests, or we want to use the website to tell the story of our business and how we differentiate from competitors. So replacing these legacy sites with a modern updated website is one thing that CIMcloud offers. I'll get to in the second section here. But this would be one kind of concept where customers are coming to me and saying, hey, we have an old, outdated website and we need something new from a public facing standpoint. The second thing we're going to talk about in a little bit of detail here and a little bit of detail in section 2 is how customers can utilize CIMcloud either to replace those legacy websites and put a public facing website in place, or they could say, hey, our marketing team has, they sit down once a week. They like doing different testing and different modifications. We want a complete open source public facing website, but then we want to utilize CIMcloud as a B2B customer portal off of that website. So kind of a multi-site approach where you're giving your marketing team a web platform that they're comfortable utilizing that gives them all the bells and whistles they need from a branding standpoint. And then you're utilizing CIMcloud to be the transactional piece of that overall online presence. And again, I'll give you some ideas on that here in section 2. And then the final kind of trend that I've seen, and this was really a trend that has emerged, I think, over the last 10 years, but, even more so now coming into 2022, 2023, a lot of businesses are saying, hey, a lot of customers are asking for online access and ability to do business online. So we want to open up a new sales channel and utilize e-commerce to do that. So you've seen a lot of businesses, and one thing I've seen is people are like, oh, we're going to go and do, the Amazon for business experience. And that creates, challenges and opportunities and all that go with that. Or, hey, during COVID, we spun up a basic direct to consumer website. We love the margins that yields, but we've realized that because we did that as a standalone website versus a fully integrated website, it creates a ton of different bottlenecks and constraints for our business. So again, in a B2B world, the opening of new sales channels is great, but making sure that those sales channels are built for a wholesale or business to business type selling environment is key. And I'll talk about how CIMcloud allows businesses to utilize Sage 100 and our integration with Sage 100 to make these new sales channels both effective for customers as well as operationally efficient for your business. So you don't want to just create these new desperate sales channels and then it just creates additional work for your team. So we'll talk about in detail how CIMcloud kind of fits into all of these. But the key thing is, if you have an old, outdated website, you need to evaluate what that website's overall value is for the business and what do you want to utilize a new website for moving forward. Again, I talked a little bit about utilizing CIMcloud as a customer portal versus utilizing it for your overall public-facing website, and then how CIMcloud can open up new sales channels.
All right, so let's get into the whole pick, pack, and ship, which is what we came to talk to you about today. Okay, so first let me define some terminology. So in our warehousing system, we give you really two different options for picking and shipping an order. We have a one-step method and a two-step method. Now, the normal one-step method is what we call SO shipping. This is sort of Sage classic functionality. Okay, we just extend that functionality out onto the warehouse floor with the use of a mobile, rugged, Wi-Fi enabled barcode scanning gun. Okay. So you would pick the items, put it in a box, ship it all in one step. So if one person does the process, they get the stuff off the shelf, put it in a box, print the labels, that's the SO shipping that I'm showing here. We also can split that, and this is not a native Sage function, so this is a differentiator for us here at ScanForce. What we can do is pre-pick the orders and stage them. So if you have a situation where you want to work ahead, maybe it's second shift picking something that first shift is going to ship tomorrow, or maybe you've made something for a client, but it doesn't need to ship out for a week or a month. Well, we can pick it and stage it, and it's sort of in a quasi-shipped state. So it's reserved for that customer in that order, and it's sitting on a unique shelf or sitting in a sequestered area of the warehouse, and everyone can see that. And we even write detail back to the sales order to let people know exactly what the situation is. That order's been picked. And then when it comes time to actually ship it, we do this second step called checking and packing. And that's where we actually officially ship the product. So we can pick in two different methods, either all at one time, or we can split it into amongst two different times. Okay. Now, another thing that we can do with picking, if you have a situation where you have multiple line items on an order and you want multiple people to be able to pick simultaneously, or maybe you have different functional areas of your warehouse. Some of our customers have a refrigerated area and a freezer area, two different people. So if I have line items on one order that cross those boundaries, one in the freezer and some in the refrigerator, we can use split picking, and we can print two separate pick tickets out of Sage. And it's an A and a B version, like if it's order number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5A and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5B on the pick tickets, two different people can take those pick tickets and go and pick those orders simultaneously while not interfering with one another. Another option for picking in ScanForce is wave picking, which is really kind of the exact opposite of split picking. Split picking, I've got one big order and I want to split it amongst people. Wave picking, I'm going to take multiple orders, pull them together so one person can pick them. And a good, for instance, leads directly into what we're talking about today with the Starship. Let's say UPS shows up at 4:30 every day. Well, if you've got, say, 6 orders that have to go out UPS, you could put those on what we call a wave. A wave is a grouping of orders. And now you can assign that to an individual. And you can say, here, John, it's your responsibility to get all 6 of these orders ready for UPS by 4:30 today. And they're going to show up on his gun, and it can say John's wave if you want it to. Okay. Another example would be if you have one customer that has 10 orders and you want to build a truckload going out to them. Well, I can group them all together and pick them and pack them and ship them simultaneously. Okay. The big efficiency gain here is, let's say on those 10 orders going out to one customer, or on 10 orders going out via UPS to different customers, what if the same line item is on all 10 of those orders? Well, the traditional method that Sage would have you do is, I have a pick ticket for the first order, and I'm going to go to that location, pick those items for that order, and package them. And then I'm going to take the second order, go back to that same location, and you lather, rinse, repeat all 10 times, and you visited the same place 10 times. Well, with wave picking, we allow you to pick all the items, the quantity that you need at one time, and then split them up later in the process and put them in the appropriate box that they belong to. Okay, so that's a little bit about wave picking. Now, directed picking ties into that, and I call directed picking the crown jewel of the whole warehouse management system. This is where I think some of the most efficiency can be gained. This is where the system, the handheld, can tell the user, go down this aisle, go to this rack, go to this shelf, and get 4 of this product. Okay, it literally directs them exactly where to go. Now, you may say, well, our worker, he's been here for 10 years. He knows all the nooks and crannies where everything is hidden. Well, that's great unless he's out sick. And then what do? Okay, who has that institutional knowledge to be able to know exactly where everything is? Or if you hire a new person, are they going to walk in and just instantly know where everything is? Wouldn't it be great if you just handed a scan gun and said, here, start on order number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and it steps them through exactly the footsteps they need to walk. And beyond that, it will also build a serpentine path through your warehouse to pick it in the most efficient way possible. So if there's 2 line items on aisle B, okay, we're going to go to aisle B in your warehouse one time and get both of them before we loop around to aisle C. Okay, so it can consolidate items that are close together to make the picking as efficient as possible. Okay, and that's done by pre-allocations. An allocation is really a reservation. So when a sales order is entered, we have business rules behind the scenes that say, how do you want to allocate or reserve the inventory? Because you may have the same item that exists in multiple places in your warehouse. That's the multi-bin that I was talking about a moment ago. So what allocations will do is, for instance, if you want to work on a FIFO method, it's very popular. the system will say, okay, the oldest material is at this location, so that's where I'm going to direct the user to go. And even if they have to go to 2 locations to get the full quantity they need, it will handle that as well, okay? Or maybe you just want to pick in the most efficient way possible. So take me to the location where I can get everything in one pick instead of a little bit from here and a little bit from there for this one line item, okay? So this pre-allocation will greatly help the efficiency of how you pick and make sure that you have sufficient inventory to fulfill the orders. Okay. All right. So now let's get into the actual Starship mobile ship integration. Okay. So what happens is we're going to pick the order through the handheld application and enter package details. What's in box 1 versus box 2 versus box 3. And we're going to send that back over to Sage, and it's going to automatically flow into Starship and print out our labels for us. Okay. Now, this is the normal workflow. A sales order is entered, and on our handheld application on the gun, someone would go into one of the shipping picking applications I showed you a moment ago, like SO Shipping. Okay, they pick everything, and then data flows from there, the quantities and line items that were updated, and it goes into Sage shipping data entry. Okay, from there, it flows directly into Starship. This is the normal flow that we've always used, and that's still there. Okay, now, if you're using our advanced or premium version of our package, same thing happens. We have a sales order gets entered, we're going to pick it, but then we have that intermediary step where we pick it, and then we'll do a secondary step where we check and pack it. This can happen in succession because you may have one person that's a picker and somebody else that's a packer. Or you may pick it and stage it and come back a week or a month later and do the checking, packing, and actually ship it. That's when it goes to shipping data entry, and that's when the data flows over to Starship. Okay, so there are a couple of requirements here for this to work. Number one, you must have one of our warehouse management system modules for the shipping. Okay, and you must be on the cloud version of Starship. Okay, if you have the on-premise version, this will not interface. It can only interface to the cloud version, so it would necessitate a conversation with V Technologies to talk about migrating from the on-premise version to the cloud version. Okay, now this does not require ScanForce's label printing suite that I described to you before, where we might print for receipt of goods or coming out of manufacturing step. So if you have consumer level products that have a UPC code on it, you can use those. You don't have to have our labeling suite. Okay, so the printing of these labels actually comes from the Starship side, not the ScanForce side. We pass the data to Starship. Starship then generates the labels. So our label printing suite is not required. Okay, now Starship obviously is purchased from V Technologies. ScanForce is purchased from ScanForce. So this is a ScanForce enhancement. It's an add-on to our warehouse management system. So it is purchased from us as a subscription, and the cost is $1,800 per year. So the big advantages, you don't have to leave to go to the PC. Normally what happens is you do the picking in ScanForce, it goes into shipping data entry, then someone has to leave wherever they are out on the floor in the warehouse, go into the shipping office, for instance, log into a PC, go into Starship, and then request the labels. It's a lot of back and forth. We're just cutting all those footsteps out so you can print the labels on demand directly from the handheld application. Okay, so you can also get other shipping documents like the hazmat documents or a packing list or those international shipping documents we mentioned. So all those things can happen automatically.